Welcome back to World History. Today, we're learning about Chapter 10. Let's get into it. All right, Chapter 10 is the beginning of the Roman Republic. So, before we even get started, I want to show you quick this little graph. On the left, you have the Greek gods, and then right there in the middle, you have the Roman gods, and then on the right, you have, what they do, what their purpose is. So before, in Greek, you go down about halfway in the list, you see Zeus is the chief god, and then in Rome, it's Jupiter. So I don't want to say they just copied the Greeks, but they pretty much copied the Greeks. Okay, just letting you know that's sort of where the Roman gods originate from, okay? So, in this lesson, we're going to talk about geography. It's back. It's all the time. Geography influences how humans develop, so we need to look at the geography. We'll talk about the story that is the origin story of Rome, Romulus, and Remus, and we'll also talk about the government of Rome. This is probably the most important part, especially long-term for you to learn, is understanding how the Roman government is similar to the American government, okay? How we pulled things from Rome and we pulled things from Greece, but specifically Rome, especially structurally. So make sure you understand the connection between the Roman government and the United States government, okay? And if you have any questions, let me know. That's the big fish. Make sure you land it. Okay, how does geography influence Italy? It's a mild climate, provides protection. We'll look into it. Legendary origins of Rome, Romulus and Remus were raised by a wolf, and then the origins of the U.S. government we'll talk about. Okay, so here's what you need to know for your geography. If you're watching this, pause it. Here we go. You need to know some seas, Adriatic Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Hopefully you know where the Mediterranean Sea is by now, but guess what? If you haven't learned it yet, you can still learn it. Never too late to learn, okay? You need to know some places. Italy, that's a country, looks like a little soccer, or looks like a boot kicking a soccer ball maybe. Rome, that's a city in Italy. We'll talk about that. And then later, the city of Rome expands into like an empire. So let's get into that. Constantinople, this is an important city. It's right over here. Okay, very good. Constantinople will later become Istanbul. If somebody asks you where's Constantinople or where's Istanbul, guess what? It's the same place. You get 2 points for the same question. Here we go. Mountains. Where are the Alps? They're on top. Where are the Apennines? Hopefully I pronounced that right. They're in the middle. And then an island of Sicily. So, on the map, there's Italy, okay? Right there in the Mediterranean, right at the top of the seahorse. Can you find Italy on this map? Good. All right, cool. Here is the Adriatic Sea. Right there. Okay, very good. Here are your mountains. The Alps, they're on top, and the Apennines, they're in the middle. Okay? Oh, there's the island of Sicily. Very good. Did I cover all that? Here's Rome. Okay, city of Rome. Kind of right there in the middle. What is that? If that was a leg, that'd be maybe where the kneecap is, something along those lines. I hope that helps you, by the way. All right, and then we can see Constantinople on this map right there. Okay, it's sort of where Europe and Asia meet. So just look for Turkey, look for Greece, and kind of where they meet, draw a little circle, and you'll be fine. That'll be Constantinople. That's going to be an important city, so make sure you know where that's at. Okay, as always, geography's on every test. And geography, it just takes practice. So hopefully you got it right there. Come back and review it. Draw some maps. I'll throw up a geography quiz. Keep playing it and then get those points and let's keep going. All right. So what was the major epics, the major epic poems in Greece? Do we remember these? Okay, Iliad and Odyssey. All right, Iliad and Odyssey. Well, in Rome, they're going to have the Aeneas. And it's written by Virgil. So in Greece, you had Iliad, Odyssey, written by Homer. In Rome, you have the Aeneas, written by Virgil. Okay. Again, most cultures have some type of epic poem. If you've been in class, we've talked about it. I don't know if I put it on a video. What would be the epic poem for America, for today, for your life? Okay, something like Avengers or maybe Star Wars, these would be our epic poems. So 3,000 years from now, when they study ancient American history, kids will be learning about Star Wars or Iron Man or something like that. I hope that makes it more fun for you. The same way that we learn about their superheroes. Make sure you know what an epic poem is. Romulans and Remus. I meant Romulus and Remus. Sorry about that. Okay. Do you guys even know what Star Trek is? Maybe? Isn't it? What is it? Peace and prosper? Something like that? I don't know.
Live long and prosper.
Anyway, twin brothers, they're thrown into a basket but rescued by a wolf. Years later, adopted by a shepherd. I'm mentioning the basket motif. You can even go back and look at Sargon on page 61. Sargon found floating in a basket. Romulus, Remus floating in a basket. Moses floating in a basket. This is a motif where these great leaders come out of the basket floating in the river. Read about it if you want. Okay, Romulus, first king of Rome. Remember, this is how history works. Who's the first? Who's the last? Who's the greatest? Those are always possible test questions. So you see who's the first king, you just kind of put down Romulus in the notes, right? You got that. Okay, great. The other big pictures I want you to see is Rome starts off as ruled by one, which is called what? Ruled by one? Monarchy, right? Starts off as a monarchy, becomes a republic, goes back to becoming a monarchy. So a lot of the reason we study Rome is, again, America's sort of modeled on them. We don't want to do that last part where we fall into a monarchy. Does that make sense? Okay. Hopefully that made sense to you right there. Patrician, ruling class. Plebeian, lower class. Please write it down and stick it in your brain. This is more than just a test question. So many articles I've read or books or people, they say, oh, that guy's just a plebe.
If I treat you like you're a plebe, like you don't matter, you're not going to respect me at all.
Or something along those lines. I want you to know what that means. He's saying he's a plebeian, he's lower, okay? In a republic, you elect leaders. You don't make the laws yourself. Does that make sense? When you go to vote, sometimes you vote for laws, like Proposition 2 or something, but often you vote for Joe or Bill, or you vote for Jack and Jill, or whatever. You vote for people, and then you hope these people will represent you. That is a representative democracy, otherwise called a republic, okay? Sometimes, during times of war, you would need one person to take over and be in charge, and then they would be called the dictator. And in Rome, you got that job for 6 months. A famous dictator was Cincinnatus. This is where we get the name Cincinnati. George Washington read him and admired him. This is part of why George Washington gives up power and ethos. That was the word, part of the American ethos. All right, okay. So you don't have to memorize these parts of the government per se. I want you to be familiar with them, but there's different parts of the government. So we're going to take the government, which has all the power, and we're going to try to break it up so that not any one person has too much power, because we don't want the dictator to become a king or an emperor. Does that make sense? Spoiler alert, it's going to happen anyway. But this is what they're trying to do. So part one, you have the magistrate. This is sort of like the president, okay? There's 2 consuls. They're the co-rulers. You have 2 of them so that you can't have one have too much power. Does that make sense? Okay, so the magistrate, sort of like you have 2 presidents, okay? 1-year term. Then you have the Senate, okay? The Senate is all the wealthy and powerful people, and they advise them, and you're in the Senate for life. And then the last part of the Senate, or the last part of the government, is the tribunes. And this is the common people, and they have the veto power. Veto means what? Do you know? That's okay if you don't know. Let's learn. Veto means I forbid. And so we have vetoes today. If Congress passes a law, it goes to the president, and and the president can sign it and it becomes a law, or the president can veto it, which means I forbid. Okay, make sure you know that. So here are the checks and balances. Checks and balances, again, means we're taking the power, we're kind of breaking it up, and we're letting it check itself against each other, trying to balance the power so not one group or person has Too much power. How long do you serve if you're a consul? 1 year. How long do you serve in the Senate? Lifetime. But what power do the plebeians have? The veto power. Excellent. Okay, great. And then here we go. Checks and balances, USA. The executive branch is the commander-in-chief, but only Congress can technically declare war. So we take that power, we kind of break it up. I want you to see we're kind of modeled after Rome. We have senators, we have representatives. We don't have consuls, but we have a president. I've been talking a lot. Time for a video.
When the Romans overthrew their Etruscan rulers in the year 509 BCE, they weren't just changing their political status. They were establishing a form of government that would influence politics for thousands of years to come. Upon freeing themselves from the conquering Etruscans of the north, the Romans formed a republic, a system of government in which citizens choose representatives to govern on their behalf. With this, they established a governmental system which was a precursor to many in our modern-day world. To understand the political structure of the Roman Republic, we must first understand the importance of social class. The natural-born inhabitants of the Republic, who were not slaves, were broken into two main groups. They were the patricians, members of the upper class, including the nobility and wealthy landowners, and the plebeians, or the common people of Rome. Unlike today's society, where people can move up and down the social ladder, the patricians and plebeians of Rome were completely separate and distinct. Intermarriage between the classes was forbidden, making these social classes even more of a dividing line. Whether a man was a patrician or a plebeian dictated what position he could hold within the beginning political structure of the Republic. If a man was a patrician, he could hold the highest position in government, known as consul. Since this position oversaw the workings of the government and its officials, while also being the commander of the army outside the city of Rome, we can draw some loose parallels to it and the American presidency. However, unlike the presidency, two patrician men ruled as consul. They had the power to veto one another and were limited to a 1-year term. In times of crisis, and in order to make swift, concise decisions, one man could be elevated to dictator over the Republic. Trying to make sure the patricians could keep control, the consuls were elected from the Senate, a group of 300 patricians who were in essence the lawmakers of Rome. They made decisions on spending while also controlling taxation and relationships with foreign powers. Again, we can loosely compare the Roman Senate to the legislative branch of the American government. However, there are some major differences. Perhaps most obvious, the senators of Rome were not chosen by the citizens. They were chosen by the consul, and they were elected for life. The last governing body of the Roman Republic was the Assembly. The Assembly allowed plebeians or common citizens into its membership. Like the First Amendment right to assemble, the Assembly had the right to assemble in the Forum, or the marketplace and business center of Rome. Fortunately for the Assembly, they had one ace up their sleeve. As the Republic aged, they were in charge of choosing the consul. Yes, the consuls were elected from the Senate, but not by the Senate. The honor of choosing went to the Assembly. Since the Assembly chose the consuls, any senator hoping to gain the highest position in government needed to win the favor of the Assembly. Just imagine a wealthy patrician courting a common plebeian. This setup allowed the wealthier plebeians, who were not patricians no matter how much money they made, to wield substantial power. It was politics at its best. With this setup, it's not hard to imagine why the Assembly gained power. They were also given the right to elect tribunes, a position which acted very much like a president of the plebeians. The man holding this position had the right to intervene on legal matters and veto legislation. He also held the right to summon the Senate, even making proposals for their consideration. Between 449 and 450 BCE, the plebeians of Rome gained another victory through the Law of the 12 Tables. These were a code of laws which spelled out civil matters, crime and punishment, and relationships among citizens and family members. Most important about these new laws, both patricians and plebeians were bound by them. Soon following the law of the 12 tables, the assembly had gained such power that plebeians were given the right to marry patricians, and even a plebeian could be consul. Ironically, the growing power of the assembly would be blamed for the fall of the republic.
Welcome back. So separation of power. I'm going to use the law of power. You've got one branch of government that can make laws, the legislative branch. You have another branch of government that executes the laws, the executive branch. And then you have a branch of government that reviews the laws, the judicial branch. And so you take that power, the law power, and you break it up. You separate that power into different parts of the government so you don't have one person or one part of the government just totally dominating everybody. Does that make sense? All right, great. And we get that from Rome. Okay, 12 tables will be on here. I want you to read through a couple of them. It's a law code. Hey, everywhere we go, we've got law codes. What's one of the first law codes ever? Hammurabi's Code. What was the law code given to Moses, the Jewish law code called? The 10 Commandments. And now we have the 12 tables. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit more about Rome. Rome starts off as a city, then they expand, and then they pretty much expand all the way. They first expand to Spain, then they expand to Greece, and then all the way around the Mediterranean. But look where Rome is located. Again, geography, physical geography, human geography. Physical geography, human geography, it's back. They're centrally located, which is going to make it easy for them to conquer. It's also going to make it easy for them to get rich. That's coming up soon. But before we get to that, the Gauls attack. No, not those Gauls. Okay, the Gauls are some barbarians on the other side of the Alps, and they come into Rome, and Rome pays them to leave. So what does that do? We'll give you money if you go home. The end. No, not the end. If you pay people to leave, guess what's going to happen next? Everyone's going to show up because they want to get paid. And so Rome has to defeat them and ends up taking their land. And once they do that, they just start to expand, all right? And so Rome's a city, expands through Italy. After Italy, where do they go to? Spain, okay? And then after Spain, they go the other way towards Greece, and then finally around the Mediterranean. So that gives you just a picture of how they expand, okay? What's their military unit? It's called a legion. Okay, there's a bunch of different units, but the one that's important, I want you to know what a legion is, okay? You have 5,000 to 6,000 soldiers, and each legion is made up of cohorts, all right? So here's a quick video about Roman legions.
There are two main types of soldier. A legionary is a Roman citizen, an auxiliary is not. Each must supply his own equipment and swear an oath of loyalty to the emperor. Legionaries join an infantry unit as part of a group of 8 men, a contubernium, who all share sleeping quarters. New soldiers are stuck with fatigues, dirty jobs, until they secure a specialist post. 10 contubernia form a century, with its own standard bearer, commander of the watch, second in command, and a centurion to lead them all. 6 centuries together make up a cohort, and 10 cohorts, plus a small cavalry unit, the Equites Legionis, make up the biggest Roman army unit of them all, the legion. The legion's symbol is the Roman eagle, borne aloft by the aquilifer. Cohorts in a legion are numbered 1 to 10. Cohort 1 is extra large with 5 double centuries. Its centurions are the senior ranking primi ordines, and the most senior of all is primus pilus, or first file. He can be promoted to be praefectus castrorum, camp prefect, in charge of the daily running of the legion. Outranking this camp prefect are 7 men, 6 staff officers, the tribuni, and the commander of the entire legion, the legatus. Back in Rome, he's a member of the Senate, the empire's 600-strong ruling elite. But in the field, he commands his legion of some 6,000 troops, each a Roman citizen. But while these citizen legionaries are the backbone of the Roman army, the non-Roman citizens, the auxiliaries, are the specialists. In auxiliary cohorts, men recruited across the empire used their talents and abilities in the service of Rome. One area of expertise was horsemanship. There are cavalry-only regiments, the ala, a few double-strength cavalry regiments, including one in Britain, the Ala Petriana, also part-mounted cohorts, and some auxiliary cohorts are just regular infantry, organised like the legionary cohorts. But the similarities stop here, at the cohort. Auxiliaries are part of no bigger unit. There's no legion and no legate to command them. Instead, each cohort has its own high-ranking commander, who leads these more compact maneuverable units. And when an auxiliary soldier has served the Roman army for 25 years, a great reward awaits. He gets a plot of land, a pension, and all of the rights of a Roman citizen, for him, his children, and the generations to come.
All right, welcome back. Rome is centrally located, and it's going to start trading with everybody, right? And everybody's going to accept Roman money. And so it becomes sort of a de facto world reserve currency, and they're going to use coins to facilitate trade. I want you to look at this chart. This is awesome. 211 BC, the denarius is 95 to 98% silver. Look what happens just about 500 years later, 400 or 500 years later. It's down to 5% pure silver. So the value of the money gets less and less. And I'm not telling you that's where we're at today, but maybe what I'm telling you is you need to watch. This is why you study Rome, because people will say that America today is printing up too much money and that we're debasing and devaluing the currency. Maybe, maybe not. That's for you to decide. My point is that we have these historic precedences. It's not the first time somebody put on the printing press. It's not the first time that money has changed value. You can look at the history and you can say, yeah, we're kind of in that stage and let's turn it around. Or you can say, no, they're not similar at all. Let's keep rolling. So just look at this chart and this information. The numbers speak for themselves. All right. This causes inflation. When your money is not worth the same amount, it's called inflation, okay? So this is a menu from McDonald's back when a hamburger was 15 cents. So you can see you can get a hamburger, a drink, a cola, and it's all under $1. And now we have the dollar value menu, and one day you'll have the $20 value menu, okay, because of inflation. And then they're going to have an enemy, and their enemy is Carthage, located there on North Africa. And they're going to come down there and they're going to attack and they're going to have a series of wars. And these wars are going to be called the Punic Wars. And this is Rome versus Carthage, okay? And what Hannibal is going to do, one of the greatest generals of all time, he is going to come up across Spain and then back down into Italy. And he is going to come in with his elephants across the Alps. Nobody thought you could invade Italy from the north because they got these giant mountains there, but he's going to bring his elephants down, and then he's going to torment Rome. They really can't do much to get him out of there, and so then what Rome does is they go and attack Carthage, and then Hannibal has to flee to protect Carthage, and then it's over. These are the details that I wish we had more time to get into. It's pretty awesome. If you remember nothing else, you remember Hannibal, awesome general, attacks Rome with elephants, okay? Because that's fun to remember, so know that, okay? Those are called Punic Wars, okay? He takes elephants across the Alps. Now, who wins? Who conquers who? Rome conquers Greece. But then if you remember from the very first slide, Rome adopts many of the Greek ideas and the Greek gods. So although Rome takes over Greece, Greek culture becomes part of Rome and spreads. So it's kind of interesting how that works out. That's going to be it for today, except I want to review something. What are the similarities between the Roman government and the United States government? What's the main similarity? Okay, we separate the government into different branches. All right, that's one of the main things that we get from Rome. Rome had 3 branches of government. How many branches does America have? 3 branches. Okay, coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, now there's differences. They had 2 consuls. We have 1 president. So there's differences. But the separation of power idea, okay, that's a very big similarity. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and we'll see you back here next week.